Good morning. And good morning. Why don't you proceed?
So Ryan Doolan, Deputy Executive Director with the Commission. This proposal seeks $1 million to hire a network engineering consultant to examine AT&T and Verizon's network. Since this item was heard at our prior hearings, I'll keep my comments pretty brief. We continue to seek funding for this proposal, but also understand that the recommendation by staff to send this item to Conference Committee for consideration.
Thank you. LAO, do you have comments? Seeing none. Is there any public comment on this issue? Welcome.
Good morning. My name is Peter Hayes, representing AT&T. I'm in AT&T's Regulatory Affairs Group, and I've been working with the CPUC for 4.5 years on their open service quality docket. And AT&T opposes the request for the service quality evaluation money. The evaluation is simply not necessary, and I think the CPUC's own actions demonstrate that. The CPUC has argued that the network evaluation is necessary to evaluate some of the measures that they use to measure service quality that providers provide customers. The reality is there is currently a proposed decision sitting in front of the 5 commissioners that would close the service quality proceeding. The proposed decision makes no mention of the network evaluation and what use would be made of the results of that evaluation. The proposed decision doesn't even argue that the network evaluation is necessary. Clearly, the CPUC in 4.5 years has more than enough information and evidentiary record to determine what it wants to do with its service quality metrics. In fact, the proposed decision not only adopts the very service quality metrics that the network evaluation is supposed to study, the proposed decision doubles down on that and applies fines and penalties for those same metrics. The Commission can't have it both ways. They can't need the evaluation to study the metric, but also be willing to adopt that same metric in such a way to apply fines and penalties. So we urge you to reject the request. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Regina Costa. I'm the Telecommunications Policy Director for the Utility Reform Network. And I thank you very much for your indulgence in hearing this item again. This is truly appreciated. I want to provide some clarification about what is really on the table here. First, the budget item is an authorization to obtain funds to carry out an examination of networks. And those funds are to be reimbursed by the 2 telephone companies whose networks are being examined. Second, the value and the need for an examination of these networks was considered and litigated in front of an administrative law judge and the full commission. And the commission issued 2 orders saying that this examination was necessary. And the reason for that is it's vital for the public safety in California. Without the approval of this spending authority, the commission will be unable to conduct the examination. In essence, a suspension of this budget, a rejection of this budget item would effectively negate the decision of the commission. The safety item is not designed to calculate penalties associated with failing to meet service quality standards. Instead, it's a preventative measure. It will allow the CPUC to identify potential vulnerabilities in the state's 2 largest telecommunications networks before there is an outage of phone service. This is a very important and welcome oversight function of the CPUC to ensure public safety of utility networks. It's important to remember that this proceeding took place because there was an outage affecting over 250,000 telephone customers in Southern California, with some lines being out of service for over 3 weeks following a series of winter storms that were no different than storms in prior years. For people whose only connection to 911 as their phone line, it meant they had no access to 911 and no ability to call anyone else. In as late as August of 2015, the CPUC again found that the study remains necessary and that it's critical for the health of the California economy and for the safety of its citizens. If approved, the funds will essentially allow for a sample of telephone network facilities to be examined throughout the state in different environments so the Commission can gauge whether or not the networks are being properly maintained. And the object is to prevent future similar outages. Phone lines should not go out because of a storm, and they should not go out for over 3 weeks. The CPUC is trying to understand why these lines are so vulnerable. It's not about determining whether companies are meeting their obligation to restore service. It's to determine whether telephone companies are properly maintaining their network in the first place, ensuring that lines do not go out because of a winter storm. Under California law, the utilities and the telephone companies have an obligation to provide reliable service. And the Commission has an obligation to make sure that they do that. So we welcome this study because this is the Commission doing what it's supposed to do. And that is why TURN very much supports this budget item. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you. My name is Nancy Biagini, and I'm with Communication Workers of America. We're the folks that actually represent those workers out in the field who are supposed to properly maintain the lines. It's the work that they do. And we are quite extremely familiar with the need for the funding to be able to follow through with this study. We're rather tired of the telephone companies sidetracking regulations and missing obligations. It affects both public safety and it's their obligation that they're missing is also this performance metric that's spoken about. We strongly support this funding. We urge that you do likewise. Our members are concerned about the safety of the copper lines. Our members are concerned about the safety of the networks and the upkeep. They see what's going on. Please support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Williams?
I want to move staff recommendation, and I want to say, I'll move staff recommendation first.
Is there a second? I'll second.
I think that AT&T has brought up some important issues of the question of whether this study will be used to inform the PUC's decisions. So I have made the request of the PUC and received assurances that the results of the study would affect their metrics into the future. So their decision that they're making soon would possibly be revised based on the results of the study, and I think that's important. However, I also see the importance really of landlines as a public safety mechanism. I've spent 3 years going down the bureaucratic rabbit hole of what is wrong with cell to 911. And there's just so much wrong with our cell to 911 system that it would take hours to explain it all. But suffice to say that people that use a cell phone to call 911 are in more of a risk of longer wait time and of more likely of public safety personnel going to the wrong location than someone calling from a landline. And in that context, I think it's really important for us to understand network adequacy and infrastructure and our weaknesses in infrastructure for basic public safety. There are many tragic examples. One of them happened in my district a year and a half ago. A young mother named Jordan Soto who died while public safety personnel were sent to the wrong location. That's what happens when people call 911 from a cell phone. So don't let anyone tell you that that's a superior technology for public safety. It is not. And because of that, I think there is an imperative for us to look at the network adequacy of the landline infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not completely convinced that this network study is necessary, and I still have some serious questions about it, and the role that it plays in determining the metrics that the companies have to adhere to, because the metrics are not being met clearly, and yet I'm not hearing a lot from customers saying with complaints. So I find this a very difficult and challenging issue to understand. I'll support the motion because it simply punts the issue to the conference committee on the budget. I remain concerned that this is perhaps not necessary, and I'm hopeful that there'll be some additional examination as the item moves to conference.
Mr. Patterson.
Appreciate the conversation, and from colleagues that served with me on utility and commerce, and my friend Mr. Gordon, I too share real concerns about the necessity of this and its ultimate use, and would raise those issues. Unlike my colleagues, I'm going to vote no, but I certainly hope that the concerns raised and the fundamental questions of what you've got rulemaking, what in the world do we need all of this on top of everything else? So with that, I'm going to be a no, but I do echo the concerns of my colleagues here with respect to the necessity to make sure that these systems operate and work for safety reasons and all of that. And again, without getting into the discussions about the 911, cell to 911 and all of that, I think there are some instances where we can be seeing the technology improved. And ultimately, I think that's going to be where all this really needs to end up, getting into the 21st century with ubiquitous communication everywhere. And I think that's in everybody's best interest. So I appreciate the matter before us and thank my colleagues for their comments.
Thank you. I'm going to support the motion today. And I want to say that after hearing the public comments today, it started me thinking about our directive to the Public Utilities Commission, which is to pay more attention to safety issues. So I think part of the underlying issue here is, are we going to support the PUC in doing the job that we've asked them to do? They had a proceeding on this. They've had public hearings. They've indicated to us that they think this is necessary and important. This amount of money is not going to make or break anybody here when you consider the size of the budget and the extent of the issue throughout the state of California. So part of my thinking as we move forward into conferences, whether or not this is furthering the directive that we've given the PUC to focus more on the culture of safety within the organization and in the state. Mr. Bigelow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of questions maybe up here. You have Verizon listed. Most of the mechanics that you're talking about on here, on your metrics, are dealing with the copper service.
Right, the
not
landline.
the cellular surface.
Right, it's a
component
landline
that was
infrastructure.
kind of introduced in here. And I think we need to kind of understand what you're looking at is that matrix within the copper line, the tariffed areas of service that telcos have. Oftentimes we think of this as that same thing, and it's not. And there are flaws, like Mr. Williams spoke about, with respect to it. As a 40-year fireman, we're thankful that these tools exist today, because not in every case are we able to find the people in the right location based upon what occurred. We find sometimes there are some flaws, but it's saved more than we've lost by having the technology. Limited at its best right now, and it will be perfected. But that's a separate issue away from what you're asking about here today. And the real thrust of the discussion is about outages and how we can improve those outages, especially as one speaker spoke long term. We need to recognize that sometimes there's an act of God or something goes awry, and those services can't be replaced instantly because the technology components are not available. They have to be brought from across the country, or maybe the location presents its own new challenges. For example, if you have an area where an underground service has been damaged, it can't be repaired easily without actually having gone through an entire process of studies. New challenges are in front of us from when it was previously installed, thus causing the long-term delays. There are a host of issues, and they've all been explained to the PUC time and time again, and that information is readily available with understanding. I don't see the real purpose or gain from what's being asked here today. So I'm not comfortable moving forward. I think it's almost to the point of just some more badgering of the big companies. Now, let me ask another question. You have Verizon listed here?
Right.
Does Verizon still have the copper landline services, or does another company have that today?
Another company in the state of California has that.
But it's listed here as Verizon. Right. So this whole package has a number of flaws within it, and it raises some suspect question. So I would just urge the members to reject this, as it's been consistently rejected, and allow it to run its course and die today, finally. This is not a good outcome. It's not meant to have an outcome that's going to be productive. So I'd urge you to vote no.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Let's move forward and vote.
Whitman?
Aye.
Bigelow?
No.
Gordon?
Aye.
Patterson?
No.
Williams?
Aye.
Thank you very
Thank
much. Issue number 3, Energy Commission Climate Change Research. Good morning.
Morning.
Go ahead.
Drew Bowen with the California Energy Commission. I'm the Chief Deputy Director. Thank you for the opportunity. You have heard this item just last week. I see in the agenda that staff has proposed changing it. I would just say we stand by the original proposal, the governor's budget, and would be happy to take any questions you might have.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Is there any public comment on this issue?
Good morning, Chairman Bloom and committee members. My name is Jake Kiesling. I'm Chief Executive Officer of the Joint Bioenergy Institute and a professor at the University of California at Berkeley. The Joint Bioenergy Institute is funded by the U.S. Department of Energy, and our mission is to do basic science to advance cellulosic biofuels, to produce advanced biofuels from cellulosic biomass. Since our founding in 2007, we've brought to the state nearly $250 million in funding. We've created numerous scientific discoveries. We've gotten patents, and those patents have been licensed to California-based and U.S. companies to create biofuels. And we've also started up a number of companies, 6 in total. We will be coming up for renewal. The U.S. Department of Energy has announced that renewal. We're asking the U.S. Department of Energy for $30 million per year for 5 years, or $150 million total. A commitment by the state of California for $15 million will show and indicate to the Department of Energy California's interest in keeping the Joint Bioenergy Institute and get us closer to having renewable carbon-neutral biofuels in all of our tanks here in California and throughout the U.S. I thank you for hearing this and considering our request.
Thank you very much. So this item is before us. I frankly think after studying this issue that the staff proposal, while it does move money in a different way than the administration asks us to, I think it does a better job of achieving the goal that we all have, and that's to reduce petroleum use, greenhouse gas emissions, and improve air quality from California's transportation sector, and that's why I support it.
I would agree with the chair and move the staff recommendation.
Second.
Any discussion? We'll move to a vote.
Bloom?
Aye.
Bigelow? No. Gordon?
Aye.
Patterson? No. Williams?
Aye.
That passes. Thank you very much. Our last issue is the biogas research funding issue. Elio, did you want to?
Sure. The issue before you is a proposal for additional funding for biogas research. Just for a little bit of background, there is currently a surcharge on natural gas consumption in the state. Roughly $24 million a year currently goes to CEC to operate their peer program at CEC. This proposal would adopt language to increase the surcharge by an amount that would add $50 million for the natural gas peer program.
Thank you. Welcome back. You didn't need to leave.
Right.
Did you want to add any comments?
I would just point out one correction in the staff report. It refers to the peer funding for natural gas having ended. It didn't end. The peer funding for electric research did end in 2011 when the PGC sunset, but the natural gas funding continues at $24 million per year.
So then this would expand a program that's already in existence.
Correct.
All right. Thank you. Department of Finance? Any?
Ella Marati, Department of Finance. We continue to support the governor's budget.
Thank you. Is there any public comment?
Good morning, Chairman, members of the committee. Julia Levin with the Bioenergy Association of California. We represent more than 50 public agencies, local governments, private companies, environmental groups, utilities, and others that are working to convert organic waste to energy. California is a leader globally in research and development in the electricity sector, and that has led to our huge advances in renewable electricity and bringing down the cost of solar and wind. The reason that we're on track for 33% RPS and now headed toward 50%, we're not keeping pace in the gas sector. Natural gas R&D right now is less than a sixth of the R&D funding in the electricity sector, and that shows. That's why we're so far behind in decarbonizing our gas supply and in investments in gas safety. This funding is critically important to help us accelerate the development of biogas to reduce wildfire and landfilling, to cut short-lived climate pollutants, and it will also help us to improve gas safety and gas efficiency. So we strongly support this increase, much-needed increase in gas R&D funding. Thank you.
Thank you. More public comment? Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Valerie Torella, Vlahos with PG&E. We don't yet have a position on this, but I did want to testify that conceptually, agree on decarbonizing our natural gas system. We know that that is the future with our climate goals. PG&E is still evaluating the language. However, we're not really sure about the impact to our customers of the additional funding and how long it would last and how many years and annually, or what those questions are. We do like the phrasing on the inclusion of the term renewable gas, and we do want to ensure that that means that the bill is meant to be technology neutral. And then finally, I just wanted to express some concerns about process, and we're just feeling a little jammed that this isn't, happening in the policy committee. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. Mr. Williams?
Sure. Well, I think especially because this is a budget item, and we have had many discussions about the changes. But from the policy perspective, since I am the policy chair in the relevant committee, I would say that we do have an imperative. We have a tremendous opportunity anywhere there's green waste, food waste, or sewage. We have a unexplored potential for fuel that also reduces GHGs. The renewable natural gas and renewable gas is vital that we use more of it, both as a transportation fuel and to put into our pipelines. However, it is an area of particular need for the research because of the integration. What we think of as natural gas isn't just pure methane, isn't pure CH4. So there's integration issues. There are production issues, and the research dollars, I think, will help help bridge that need, and is sound policy, as well as because it is extending an existing program, good financing work. And so I'll move the adoption of the placeholder trailer bill language.
Thank you. Second. All right, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Patterson?
Just a couple of, to the LAO. Is this a tax or a fee? Who pays for it? And does it have an impact on the prices that consumers pay?
Your first question, I don't have an answer to. I don't know, but I'm happy to sort of check in with counsel and try to sort of clarify that if that's an interest to you. Regarding who pays,
whether it's a fee or a tax.
Fee or tax, yeah. Regarding who pays, the surcharge is assessed on natural gas consumers throughout the state, I think. So it could be, my understanding is that it could be households, could be businesses. So the additional surcharge that would be imposed in order to fund the additional increase in the program would be passed along to consumers.
And what is the scope of the increase? A rough estimate of how much more will natural gas users be paying?
That's a number that I don't have in front of me right now. This is a new proposal, so we haven't really had a time to look into that in much detail. Again, happy to get back to you. The current surcharge funds both this program as well as some energy efficiency programs that are also operated. So this piece of it is just a part of the surcharge revenue that comes in, but happy to get back to you with sort of a more sort of precise estimate of how this impacts the overall surcharge and costs.
Thank you. I'm very interested in having an answer to, I think, one of the fundamental questions that we ought to be asking when we're doing these kind of deliberations, and I was hoping it would be in front of us today, and it is not.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. We'll proceed to vote.
Bloom?
Aye.
Bigelow? Gordon?
Aye.
Patterson?
No.
Williams?
Aye.
All right. That adopts the placeholder trailer bill language and completes part one of our agenda. Thank you, Mr. Griffith. While we're transitioning here to part two, let me thank both Mr. Griffith and Ms. Meindl and all the budget staff for all the hard work that they put in behind the scenes, mostly behind the scenes, working on the budget proposals that we have, analyzing, writing things up. It's a lot of work. They work very, very hard. They work long hours, and they deserve our thanks.
Christian took that with him. Go ask him.
Thought you were going to make a clean getaway, huh? Are we good to go? So we'll begin the second part of our agenda with the vote-only calendar. I think there's a number of potential motions here. Mr. Gordon.
As the designated motion maker,